Hello and welcome to Face Reading Yourself and Others. This is the intro number 6, where we're going to dive deeper into face reading and the motivations behind the changes. I just had a question from Luan, who's asking about whether these classes are open to people outside of autonomy, and absolutely they are. I would like to reach as many people as possible. So right now, I'm open to maybe interviews or talks or whatever about face reading and body language so that I can maybe spread the word and make more people attend the classes when they start on March 15th. But yeah, today we have face reading yourself and others. Does that answer your question, Luan?
Yes. Thank you.
I got all the words of the lecture wanting to come out of my mouth at once. I already did it once. It was great. Any other questions before we get started? And we're going to get started with an answer to a question that came via email from a lovely lady named Lauren. She asked about flat feet. So normally when feet stand on the ground, there is that gap there. And that gap actually helps you adhere to the ground, right? So like having the high arch, it gives you more sure-footedness because the gap is like what helps you attach. And so when the feet are flat, where that gap isn't there, it's a result of a specific thing. Now take this with a grain of salt. I'm reading from a book by Nayaran Singh. This is a book I bought in Vancouver, Messages from the Body. Herman had this book. Harold has this book. They refer to it a lot. Herman said that in this book, there was a lot, like not everything exactly parallel to psychosomatic therapy, but it's a lot of the same kind of thinking, and you'll see. But this guy tends to take it to another level where it's always your parents' fault. And it's because you're a dysfunctional family. That's how you, so just like prepare yourself for the answer. Because every single answer in this book, and it's a big book, every single thing, it's because you have a dysfunctional family in one way or another. I haven't really found many that weren't. Let's put it that way. Okay, so flat feet, ungrounded hockey puck. So the hockey puck, he means like you're sliding, you're moving. So lacking finesse of manifestation, they tend to have poor boundaries. Oh, and he's a little harsh. So sorry to start. Have a little separation between their inner life and their outer environment so that it all spills over onto the ecology in their behavioral output. Great languaging as well. They feel very vulnerable and unprotected with little capacity to define themselves effectively. They end up as something of a slipping and sliding activity addict who is always on the go, never stopping long enough to sink roots or to take on connections and responsibilities. They are quite prone to vulnerability. They learned early on to become a moving target and never to get ensnared or engulfed. They are hopelessly hooked on their significant parent, who subtly kept them on the line by artfully playing the now you see it, now you don't, promise of validation of worth game with the individual. Sometimes it fits, sometimes it doesn't, but it's always an interesting thing to examine. And maybe just to examine that, just the idea of the groundedness and connectedness to the earth, right? So maybe you're trying to be more connected, but in that you're not, you're moving the arch lower, so the adherence becomes less. So what does that mean in your life? How does that show up in your life? Just to think about that. And then the way he was saying about, there being expectations or there being dangerous situations. And so you learned to like dodge certain things. So there might be some in that, in how the way you're carrying yourself or whatever. I'm not saying necessarily with you, but like those two things, those two elements rang truer to me than the rest of the very convoluted explanation.
It's interesting. I mean, I don't have totally flat feet, but they are more so than most people I know. So I don't know. I'll have to think about that a little more. But thank you for looking that up for me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And then, when we get to the foot and a hand class, we can examine exactly what chakras are affected by like looking at the map of the chakras and comparing it with your foot and seeing exactly what parts of the foot are doing what and why. And then maybe we can draw other conclusions that are more specifically yours than this, generalization from the gentleman, the expert man. Although I must say that often when I read the descriptions, they have some kind of a grain of truth that I think about it later, because he describes all of the different ailments and stuff that you can have pretty much.
The dodging I might agree with, but the inner and outer life, not so much.
Well, and so interestingly, a lot of the time he puts it in 3 different sections, like it could be this, it could be this, or it could be this. So the way he's looking at it is like the different iterations of that energetic imprint. But like I said, I don't necessarily always agree with him either. But it was just like when I phoned Carol about this, she said to share this part with you guys. So I did. But you know what else? We're going to be able to ask Carol next week, and she can give us her own explanation of this or whatever other questions you have, because she's coming as a guest next week, and you guys will have a chance to talk to her. So should we start the lecture then? It ends with the before and after pictures. Yay. Oh, and you know what? I put 2 videos that I was going to use in this lecture, but then, 1 second. Sorry, the puppy was eating something. So I put 2 videos in there in the manual, but I never used them earlier. So you guys can watch them on your own later, because I don't think I'm going to get through this. Okay, so in the previous talk about face reading, we talked about how your face is a map of what you're thinking, and that every time you have a thought, that thought will create a micro expression in your face. And when you have that same thought 10 times, 100 times, or 1,000 times, that micro expression will deepen into a wrinkle or a tension or something like that, right? Do you remember that from the previous talk? Right. So when you're reading your face or somebody else's face, you have to really pay attention to every single tension or, extra flesh. Like I have the chubby cheeks with a little bit of fatty tissue there. So that's something, that's a heart chakra thing. And how that interacts with my solar plexus. Oh, and that's another thing I was going to tell you guys. So this is an interesting story. So it's a psychosomatic story, right? So on the 31st of December, one of my clients, or my main client, emailed me like, here, I want to pay you or something, send me your invoice. So I sent him my invoice within an hour, but then he stopped interacting with me, and he stopped answering me until the 5th of January. I didn't hear back from him at all. And he was supposed to send me my pay on the 31st. So it gave me a lot of time for reflection. Like I was never in danger of starvation or anything, but it was awkward. It was a pain to have to think about another way of getting funds into the bank to pay the things that we needed to pay. And in the end, I decided to not do anything. But I was really stressing out, and I was feeling it. And the feeling that I was feeling mostly was like the feeling of unfairness. Somebody's got control over your money. I already made the money, I already worked for the money, but then this person is holding it, controlling it, and he's not doing it when he's supposed to be doing it. He's not answering me when he's not keeping his end of the bargain. And I did my part, and how unfair that is, and how I wish that good. Are we back? Was there internet issues? Did you guys still hear me?
We heard you up until I wish that, and then you froze, is what I got.
Okay. Because I noticed that the internet was going. I don't know what I wish. I have no idea. What was I saying before that? I think there was a couple sentences ago.
You were saying that you were upset that he had control of the
right.
money, and yeah.
Right. So I wish that my money wasn't coming from one source, that one person that could control me, because it felt in that moment, it felt like control, like outside control. And that I had my own business where I was putting all this work and all this effort into my business. And then my business brought me dividends. And, and I was thinking how I can create a time where it's equal to that, where I can replace my bosses, the income I get from this particular big client, with my own work, like courses or whatever. And, and thinking about going on interviews and doing more things in order to be that. But on the last day before he actually got back to me, so like on the 5th, I went and had a nap because I was frustrated, and I decided I was going to lay down, I was going to relax and whatever. And while I was napping, there was a bug that bit me, and I had this eye was really, really swollen, the left eye. It was so swollen that I could see the swelling from the eyeball itself. Like I could see my own eyeball. And then it bit me here on the nose as well. So I have 2 bites, one here and one here. And it really, really swelled up like big. And this is a perfect psychosomatic thing, like a perfect example, because like I was telling you all the feelings that I was feeling, right? And then my body had this reaction. Like, yes, it was reaction to some fly or something that was not a mosquito, that's for sure. It was a weird thing. But something was in my bedroom in the afternoon that bit me. But my reaction to it and where the bite was is very psychosomatically telling, because what's swelling? What's swelling? It's water, right? So if swelling is water, then sorry, Erwin, can you get that? He's gonna destroy it. Puppy. So swelling is water. And it was itchy. It was really, really itchy. So in psychosomatic therapy, itchy means frustration, irritation. It's like that inner fire coming up. So itchy and swollen, so emotional, full of emotion. Swelling is emotion. So full of emotion. And I would definitely describe in the heart chakra, and where the heart chakra meets the solar plexus, because the nose bite was in the solar plexus. So my ego was definitely involved, the way I was feeling. So you can see how the injury, whatever, reflected exactly my feeling. And it was like my body was expressing its feelings, how unfair it is, how wrong it is, I'm feeling emotional, but just on the feeling side, on the receiving side. Not on the doing side. This side was fine. This is my right side. So, any observations about that?
I just think it's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can examine anything about yourself and see how it, reflects whatever.
It's like your mindset or your psyche attracted the bug to the certain place on your face.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it works exactly. But yeah, it's interesting. Why are you so quiet, Travis? Are you far away from your mic?
Eating.
Oh, eating, yes, of course. Yeah, it's interesting. Like anytime you have a cut on your finger or anything, you can think about it psychosomatically and see what it means, and see like maybe what your body is communicating to you. Like for me, I think it was communicating about pride and how emotional I am about this and the loss of control.
I like to say that the universe is always in cahoots to give you just the right physical representation so that you can't let the message get by. It's like if you weren't hearing it or feeling it before, we're going to give you something else because your body has its own consciousness. So it's magic, but also like scientific at the same time, and I love it.
Yeah, exactly. And interestingly, I was thinking about that. And I was realizing that this is just a test, like if I'm going to freak out or not. And so I chose not to freak out, and I chose not to like move any funds or do anything. I chose not to take any action and just to wait, like, the feminine receiving energy. And I was listening to the Tara mantra, which is funny because I started receiving it before I met you, Tara. And now I listen to it all the time. But like the Tara mantra, the green Tara specifically. And I just figured everything would be fine. And then in the end, nobody said anything about like the rent penalty. Nobody said anything about nothing. So everything is just like dissolved into nothing. But I didn't freak out. I was a little bit upset, and that's why I had a nap, but I didn't freak out,
And that's a lot of it. What we've been called to is to witness these things that have been coming up, especially in this time, in the winter time, to see it, feel it, but don't freak out. Let it come up, and then the right action, if need be, will either take care of itself. Yeah, that's been such a thing. Issues resolving themselves. It's like, I didn't know that was an option.
Actually, another thing like that happened yesterday when we lost power to our house and we were not able to restore it. And it turned out not to be a neighborhood thing because at first, like the first hour, it was like, oh, okay, like the power will come back, but it didn't. And then it turned out it was some problem that some guy had to come back and fix today. And so at first I was like, oh my God, I have classes today. How am I going to do this? I have a class at noon and stuff. And then I talked to the next door neighbor and she let me put an extension cord and use her internet. So I was like, my class was fine, even better internet than right now. Maybe I should switch back to hers. No, it's because it's the afternoon. But yeah, and it's been a great experience. And then we ended up buying her flowers to thank her for letting us use her internet overnight. And I had enough time to do everything. Oh, and I have a manual for you guys that I can give you. Now, I am not going to be physically able to cover everything in this class that I have in the manual. So you're still going to have to read the manual. And I'm sorry to do this to you, but I just couldn't stop myself. And there's some really good sentences in the manual that I really enjoyed writing. So I hope you like them. Because it's all about good sentences in life, So where were we here? Okay, so these patterns, these repetitive facial structures, right, will leave a mark, or in the case of, for example, extra emotion, it's going to leave a bag under your eye, or it's going to maybe be a swelling, like a swelling in your tooth or whatever. But whenever you see like a swelling, like excess water, that's always emotion, right? And whereas the chubby cheeks, like my chubby cheeks, that's like softness and nurturing. And in this way, because like we talked last time, the chakra line between the solar plexus and the heart is very different for every single person out there. So if you have nice, round, soft cheeks, those are heart cheeks. So my solar plexus or my heart line might even go underneath the cheek back to the ear, right? Whereas someone who has very chiseled, very defined cheeks, their solar plexus line might be much higher on their face. And the only heart part would be under eyes. But for my face, anything that happens on the cheek would be treated as heart chakra. And for somebody with a really chiseled face, anything that happens on the cheek would be treated as a solar plexus issue. And that was the biggest bone of contention between myself and Herman, because I did the dotted line on the face chart and he just had a dot on the nose, because you couldn't really explain it easily how that is very variable. So I'll explain it 100 more times, I'm sure,
So
because it's a very important thing. Yes, CJ.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So
I
you
have a
explained to us that the your body, your face mapped out what you were feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Does your body also map out a resolution to the thing that came up?
I think that with understanding, like, reassuring, like my body, maybe what my body was trying to say is that I give power to other people too much. Like, I allow to put myself in a situation where someone will have control over when I get my money and how I get my money, and I should have a more over, like, because this is part of my core beliefs. And remember, this is essentially me talking to myself, right? So I always believe in the diversification of income, right? And whereas now I'm in the situation where most of my income comes from one client, and it's maybe not like it's comfortable. But what if something happens? Like he lives in a country that's got some kind of uprising or whatever going on, or not uprising, but like warlike events. And so anything could happen. And so it'd be better for me in my belief system and I find it irritating, right? But then at the same time, what the message would be, because it's a heart chakra, right? To allow the heart energy to move up. Because I have an idea in my heart what I want to do for a living. I want to run courses and I want to teach people all these things that I've been taking the last 50 years to learn. And, going back to ancient stories and traditions and all this stuff, I would love to teach all of that. And it's my role, my job with a capital J in the world, from the composition that I was born into, to be teaching. But even though at my work, I'm also teaching, but it's like a facsimile. It's not exactly what I'm supposed to be doing or what I believe I'm supposed to be doing. So it's that irritation with my own delay in my own development. Or maybe not a delay. Maybe everything is exactly on time.
Okay, thanks. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so we were talking about the micro expressions and how the micro expressions appear on the face and leave a mark, right? But then what makes those micro expressions is your self-talk, your inner voices, right? And who you give the power to your inner voice to, it depends on like how it's going to feel, how you're going to experience it. So if you give the power to the inner critic, and how does that work? Well, we're going to get into that in a minute. But like when your vibration is lower, the inner critic is louder, right? When you first fall in love with somebody, even if you have financial difficulties, you tend to look at life more optimistically than if, it's the dead of winter and you haven't seen the sun for a few months, right? There is like a thing where sometimes in your psyche, you're more susceptible to a lower level of vibration, right? But this is exactly what is our responsibility, is to continually monitor our vibration. See, we take our emotional state, our feelings as something that's happening, like, oh, I feel this way, therefore it is. But in reality, how you feel really depends on you. You are the one dictating to your body how to feel. And every moment, every day, every minute of every day, you have an opportunity to feel differently. And it's really hard and it was really hard for me to take full responsibility for how I'm feeling, because if someone is a jerk to me, of course it's not my fault. Of course it's not. I'm righteous. Actually, I have to tell you guys, the one thing I've been trying lately is the Tara, like I mentioned, the Tara thing. And I've been working with these beads, the mala beads. And so what it is just like 108 beads on a thing. And when the chant, like I have the chant recorded, and when the chant goes, I just go each bead at a time for each time the chant goes, and then I go through the whole thing. So I was really upset one time and I wanted to yell at my husband, but I didn't. I went to the beads instead. And like, not that I'm necessarily a Buddhist, whatever, but I'm just seeing how this magic works on me, how it's going to feel, how I'm going to react to it, and things like that. So I'm kind of experimenting. and the green Tara chant was praying. And I was so mad, and I was sitting here with these beads, and I was thinking to myself, and like, oh, I have to go and tell him this. Oh, yes, yes, yes. I'm gonna go down, and I'm going to tell him. But I'm like, no, I'm holding these beads. I need to go to the end. I got this many beads left. I need to stay. And then like 10 more beads went by, and then I was like, oh no. This is the thing that I wanted to say. I know what I need to say. I need to put these beads down, and I need to go. And I was like, no. Like, sit here and finish the beads, right? And then I wanted to continue the fight. There was like this fight in me, right? Oh, he's wrong. Of course he's wrong. Like, of course he's wrong. I wouldn't be so upset if he was right. Like, he's so wrong. And every 10 beads, I had another epiphany as to what to say and how to say it and how to. But then when I got to the second half of the thing, the fight or the anger started kind of dissipating, and I started thinking, okay, well, I could say this. That was a good point, and this was a good point, and that was interesting, and maybe I can say it this way, and maybe I can say it this way. And in the end, when I finished the thing and I went downstairs, I didn't have any fight left in me, and I was just like, I felt this way, and this is why. And he was like, that's interesting. Okay, I get that. And it was like not a fight. But he was so wrong.
I love that, and using the beads in that way to just be present in the moment and get to watch yourself the whole time. It's like, it's not tying you to the chair, but it kind of is, because you only have 108. Love it.
Well, yeah, you have to finish it, because that's the magic. That's how the magic works. And if I want, these angels or whatever it is that are part of this bead magic, to help me if I'm praying to this in this kind of way to whatever energies are out there, then I need to do the whole thing. I can't just do 10 beads and go and continue the fight, because that would be silly. Like, then what's the point of doing it at all? If you're going to experiment, you got to do proper data.
It'll be interesting the next 3 times. How many beads it takes you before you don't need to get to the full end of it before you've dissolved it.
Well, I dissolved it about halfway through. Like, halfway through, my energy changed, right? But like, I was really mad. He said something really rude. I don't even know. Like, it was so insignificant. I don't even remember what it was, like 3 days later. But at the time, I'm a fire sign. And so is he. Cheers to that. So, okay. So the self-talk makes a huge difference. And how you talk to yourself. Mala. The beads are called mala, Jennifer, my course. And yeah, you can say whatever you want 108 times. You could probably say, I love myself 108 times, and it would probably work the same, because I don't think it's necessarily tied to Sanskrit. But that said, I got an Android phone in December, and I found myself an app that said Buddhist mantras, and there's like 12 of them, and each one is sang by different people, and the people are like original Sanskrit people, so they have the right pronunciation and everything. And I really enjoy listening to it, even if I'm just working in the background. So I definitely recommend finding some mantras app. Some of them have annoying singing, but some of them I really enjoy. So, yes. Dale, have you experimented with the mala beads and the Buddhist chants and all that? I mean, I've had a lot of exposure to it in my life, but I've never really done it like the way I'm doing it now. I even made myself a little book with the different chants in it, where I can like use the book. But yeah, it's cute. So, any other comments before we move back to the lecture? Because I have a whole section on the Demon Network today. I'm itching to tell you guys about. With graphics. Okay, so the voices in your head could belong to your parents, right? They could belong to your actual physical parents, because a lot of the time, like when we first grow up, by default, we have pre-recorded messages from our upbringing that are running through our heads. So every time you go to do something like apply for a job or move to a new city or do anything, all these pre-recorded messages are repeating in your brain. But if you replace those external parents with internal parents, now think about it, and I know I've mentioned this before, but your right side is your inner masculine and your left side is your inner feminine. So inside you have two adults, and then you have the inner child. So halfway between your heart and your throat chakra, there is this bony protrusion here, and that's the seat of your inner child. That's also called the thymus chakra or thymus gland and all of that. So if you tap it, and this is part of, remember EFT? I don't know. I guess there was no replay for New Year's because it died, but then we talked about EFT, and then there was tapping of this point as well in EFT. Thank you, DJ. That's a much better way of answering what Jennifer said than what I said. It was the green tarot chant and the mala 108 beads. Thanks. Emeraldy people, I love you. I need you. So when you're speaking to yourself, you know, you can, like, some people will emulate the voices in their head, the pre-recorded messages, the tape recorder messages, right? And some people don't really hear their voices of their youth anymore, and they have other voices. But whether those voices are supportive or not, they're still shaping who you are with micro expressions and all of that. Hang on a second. I'm going to turn off the fan because it's too much. It was too much. So, right. So your face will always be showing the truth, what your habitual thoughts are. So any habitual thoughts that are happening will leave a mark on your face. And just like this, the big swelling on my eyeball was happening when I was feeling those things. And Travis, don't rub off your wrinkles. Those wrinkles are very important. You'll see some of the wrinkles are necessary for communication between your solar plexus and your like frontal lobe, your brain, your mind. So, and this is your ego and identity. So some of these marks, without them, like if you shoot yourself up with a lot of Botox and you don't have these marks anymore, it could be a lot more challenging to be creative, and especially when women do it around their lips. Like, how can you birth a work of art if you have freezing all around your lips and on your forehead? All of that energetic movement is being, you know, limited by whatever you're doing to yourself with questionable chemicals, in my opinion. So the face will always. Yeah, what, Travis?
I just thought the lines in my forehead might be all the negative thoughts and the angry parents in my head.
See, and I'm not gonna say that because this is for the class, but that's not the lines on your forehead that talk about your negative thoughts. Let's leave it that way. See. Oh, what happened to my camera? Let me. Hang on. Everything is coming back. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. See, challenges. But we don't worry about the challenges. We just adjust. All right. So this we talked about. Oh, and I have to show you guys this. I have to show you guys this picture that I found. I was really enamored with the pictures that I found for this manual today. So look at this one. Isn't this a great representation of your inner family, your inner mother, your inner father, and the baby? And I like how you can't tell that the baby is a girl or a boy in this picture. So it works for everybody. So if you're brave enough or dedicated enough to switch your inner thinking from the default that was pre-programmed by society, by television, by the magazines, by the groceries, checkout lines. All of these things are always programming you. Every time you go somewhere, you're constantly bombarded with programming messages, right? And so you can allow those messages to run your mind and tell you that your wrinkles make you look old or something, or whatever. Your white hair makes you look, whatever. Like, old is a bad thing in our society for some strange reason. And I don't really get that, because I think it's weird and very ageist, because we should be revering the older the person is, the more they can share with us, the more decades they've experienced, the more earthquakes they survived. And all of these things, and that's all valuable. And trying to pretend that you're a 20-year-old when you're a 50-year-old, that's kind of creepy to me. But you know what? That's just me. I'm not judging anybody if that's how you want to be. But I would just warn against those Botox things, because I don't think that's very healthy. It can't be good for you. Your microphone may not be working. You enjoy going to the beach and saying, a beginning of the universe, unifying of the universe, closing of the universe. Interesting. And do you do it 108 times, Dale? All right. So you can think about all of these things, you can have all of these thoughts when you look at yourself. I mean, even I am susceptible to these thoughts, because the other day I was thinking that my face is drooping a little bit, and I can see a little bit of jowls here, and maybe I'm getting old, but I should be happy about getting old. Like, why should I look like a 20-year-old when I'm 53? It's ridiculous. So bringing the power into yourself, that means activating the inner mother and the inner father and the inner child, and having actual conversations with them, asking the father and the mother questions, and not allowing the other pre-recorded messages to take over. And as a matter of fact, you can engage your inner mother and your inner father in shutting down the chatter from the critic, or the doubter, or whatever other personalities you might have in your brain, because all of them, that the father can only say, yeah, we don't do that in this family. This is not what we do. We don't talk like imagine yourself sitting in the living room with your actual father and your mother, and you're 4 years old, and somebody comes in and calls you an idiot or a piece of crap. Your dad would kick their ass. He would. And so if you engage that kind of, and the good thing about engaging the inner mother and inner father is that they will parent you the way you want, or you need, or you deserve to be parented, because they have the same morals and judgments and feelings and abilities and proclivities and all of these things. It's all the same. They're not, if you're extroverted, they're extroverted right there with you. And if you're introverted, they're introverted right there with you. They really are the only people that are qualified and able to raise you in reality, to raise that little 4-year-old and to create the kindergarten. And so what I mean by kindergarten is, with the help of the inner mother and the inner father as psychological constructs, you can create the kindergarten of your dreams where you can live. And every morning when you wake up, the inner mom and the inner dad will take care of you, just like you would take care of an external 4-year-old. Apply the same parenting things that you're applying to your actual physical children to your own self. And that means you make sure that they have nutrition, their nutrition is met, their exercise is met, their stimulation, their play, that you wouldn't just make a 4-year-old just work, but you would make him work for some period of time so that he can learn and grow. And then you would allow him time for play and time for development and all this stuff and nature. Dale says 108 is best, but if someone doesn't have time, 54 or 27 is okay. 1 + 8 is 9, 5 + 4 is 9, and 2 + 7 is 9. What do you mean by 1 + 8, 5 + 4? Like, how does that connect with the 27? This connects with sacred geometry. If you unmute now, we're all waiting for you to say. but I don't know if your microphone is working. No. All right. Well, he'll write an answer to us, I'm sure. Okay, so the one sentence that I really liked in the manual that I wrote about the inner parents was, when you begin practice inner self-parenting, you're not trying to replicate the parenting you received as a child, and you're not trying to fix it. You're trying to create the actual parenting that you should have had from the beginning for yourself. Like if you had the parents that were 100% suited for you, which the only parents in that would be you. Like, I'm not saying that anybody has had bad parents or whatever, but they're not you. They're not going to raise you the way you want to be raised. They have different hobbies, you know, like maybe your dad wants you to play soccer, but you'd like to play hockey or whatever. You know, these little differences don't exist if you're raising yourself. And in reality, if you think about ancient cultures and ancient people, there was always a coming of age ceremony where you stopped, you know, being your parent's child and you became self-sufficient. And we're lacking that coming of age ceremony in our society. What's worse, we are encouraged to give our power away to doctors, lawyers, you know, technicians, or whoever is the expert in the field, without being able to learn anything. Whereas our ancestors were able to not only read and write, you know, the normal way, but also in circle and as the plow goes, and they were able to read symbols. They would walk into a building full of symbols and they would be able to read them as if like you and I read a book, you know. So there is a lot of knowledge that was lost in history, and we can be very arrogant about the technology or whatever, but I'm not really sure if that, you know, something like there is a lot of things that we used to know and understand that we don't. We're maybe relearning now, reconnecting with the knowledge. Okay, I'm going to skip a couple paragraphs. Oh no, what time it is? Oh shit. So I'm skipping a lot. You don't have to read this part. Let's go directly to the demon network. I'm going to see my graphic for the demon network. It's wonderful. Ta-da! Okay, so the demon network, the first one I'm telling you guys about is the actual psychological mainstream explanation of the thing. Accidentally, it's called also the demon network, which fits the other explanation. But let's talk about the first psychological explanation. So, buddy named Marcus Reichel created the idea of the demon network, and what he meant is, so what was observed in society across all these different cultures is that when somebody is still for too long, their thought form or the thoughts will degrade to some negative self-talk. Right. And so this was noted all across cultures, and often it's a similar sentences, similar things that are happening, that the person like, I'm, you know, nobody will ever understand me. I'm going to die. I'm never going to be able to support myself with this. This is not going to work. You know, all of these sentences. And apparently they're the same sentences all throughout society with all these different, like people in different languages, they're still thinking the same sentences to themselves. So why is that? So the psychological explanation is that the default mode network, DMN network, and if you say it really fast, it sounds like demon, DMN, right? It's part of your nature. It's who you really are. And so whenever you stop engaging in creative pursuits, whenever you stop, you know, being productive, creatively productive, so cooking, cleaning, maybe cleaning, yeah, I don't know why I said cleaning. Lately, I've been enjoying cleaning a lot more. You know, doing art projects, music, public speaking, all of these creative endeavors can, even like fixing things, you know, can keep your brain engaged in creative development, and therefore you cannot hear this lower part of yourself. But as soon as you stop and you're at rest, you can then hear the rotten parts of yourself. I don't know, that's how I was interpreting when I was reading this work originally. That's how I interpreted it. Like, the psychologist thinks that there's a rotten bit inside us that's giving us all these nasty thoughts, right? But if you objectively look at it, how much of that is programming? Even if we're going to take this model as yes, that's what's happening, how much of the negative self-talk is programming and how much of it? And then just recently, I read about a different viewpoint of the DMN network, that it can be positive, in meditation or whatever. But I don't really understand how it can be positive if it's constantly giving us like the negative self-talk. I might have to look into it some more, or I think they're just trying to maybe pull wool over our eyes, saying that the bad things are good things because we live in upside down worlds, and things like that happen. So this is the do anybody have a question?
Not a question, but I was thinking that the good side of hearing the negative is being, if you can flip the script, then you know your pathway to reprogramming it in the healthy way. So, but that just popped in. But anyways, yes, please continue on with your.
Yeah, no, all good. But the other thing is that when those thoughts are never in your voice, they're never in your own voice. It's a different voice. So it's an interesting exercise to really think when you're having these negative thoughts, like, oh, he'll never understand me, or, oh, this is going nowhere, all these negative thoughts. Just listen to the voice and try to think about whose voice is it? Like, what does it sound like? Is it normal? Does it sound human? What does it sound like? Does it sound like weird? Like, just observe the voice and see what comes to you.
I'm going to do that. I could have used that last week. Thank you.
So our psychologist friend thinks it's a default way of being as a human. And then the other thing that I added here is that if you get stuck in the default mode network, right? If you just get stuck in the negative pattern, you're risking an amygdala hijack. Does anybody know what an amygdala hijack is? All right. So your brain has like three parts. It has the reptilian brain, the mammalian brain, and the frontal lobe, or something like that. And when the reasoning brain and the reptilian brain, right? So when you're presented with a problem that feels overwhelming to you, like say, like a fight or flight response. So example, your partner hasn't shown up at home and it's late and you're starting to get worried about them. Or you heard that you may be fired from your job soon and your income is in jeopardy, or, something like that. One of those things. When that happens, sometimes you get stuck in an amygdala hijack. And so that means all the power of our brain gets pulled back into the reptilian brain, and we're in a fight and flight response. Now, this is a normal biological function of our body. And what happens is, if, say, you're in the forest and you hear like a tiger following you in the forest, or a bear, right? Getting stuck in an amygdala hijack actually really helps you survive that situation, because your senses will be heightened and you will be more cautious, and you will be limited to just instinct and reflexes. And in that situation, real life situation of being chased by a bear, that can actually be beneficial to your survival. The problem is that in our society, we are put in the fight or flight a lot when there's no actual physical danger. Because we're taught to defer power to doctors, lawyers, technicians, whoever. I remember, and this is like a total example from my own life, like when my boyfriend would be late from work and like would be getting late at night and he's not come home, I would get worried that if he died, I wouldn't be able to survive on my own, because I didn't have enough personal power to know that I'll be okay no matter what, like, in my 20s or whatever. I didn't have, because our society, strangely enough, didn't prepare me to be self-sufficient when I was an adult. So I felt I needed another human being next to me. Otherwise, I will be lost and live under a bridge. And I honestly thought that until I was probably 30. So, that's how our society, our school system prepares us for living. So when you get stuck in the amygdala hijack, you know exactly that you're stuck in it, because repetition becomes the game. So your brain, and say, let's use my example with the boyfriend being late, coming home. Oh my God, he's probably dead. Oh my God, he's probably dead. Oh my God. Oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Oh my God, this, da. And interestingly, and I just realized this when I was teaching this earlier today, animals speak like that. animals, when the animals speak, now there was this theory that parrots are parroting human speech, so they're repeating things without knowing what they're saying, but that's not actually true. What's actually true is that animals speak in repetition, just like when you are in an amygdala hijack. So when a parrot wants to say, hey, let's go for a walk, it'll say like, hey, 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 let's go for a walk, let's go for a walk, let's go for a walk. And that's how animals speak. If you think about a dog barking at you, trying to get your attention, it'll be more like, hey, 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 I want to go. Let's go now. And there's a lot of repetition, right? So that repetition is natural part of, nature, I think. And we don't speak that way, but animals talk that way. But then as soon as we get stuck in an amygdala hijack, our brain starts doing that with the worst thought possible. Oh my God, he's probably dead. It's already 2 a.m. and he's not home. Oh my God, he's probably laying on the side of the road. Maybe he got drunk and someone hit him and nobody ever find him, the worst possible things, because the fight or flight was initiated. So therefore the focus becomes death. And that's actually also normal, because when the fight and flight is initiated, the focus becomes death, of course, because it's a life or death situation. The problem is that in our society, we fall into that life or death situation over, a broken chair. Sometimes we can freak out and lose, because in IPOS, it's because we never had a coming of age ceremony. So we're always children, right? We're ruled by children and we're told to behave like children, and we're even dressed like children. I'm saying that wearing a t-shirt, but I live in the tropical country. That's my excuse. But like the slave uniform that we wear as people, right? Like the jeans and all of that. That's all part of the programming. So, any questions about the amygdala hijack? Did I cover it all? Everybody shell-shocked? Okay, good. That's how I want you guys. Okay, and then we go to the woo-woo chapter. So the demon network, the DMN network, that was part of the mainstream psychology. And so now there is another explanation, the woo explanation, but there are many explanations, because if your vibration goes down, you can hear certain things and those thoughts come entering your brain. And so the question is, where do those thoughts come from? If we're not going to follow the mainstream, that you're rotten inside and it's coming from the inside, what if it's coming from outside? So one of the theories is that Saturn, the black sun, Saturn, the black sun, emits a radio network that can only be heard if you are of low enough consciousness. So on the vibrational guidance scale, that Abraham Hicks vibrational guidance scale, you're in the lower half of it. Then you can hear the demon network being broadcast from Saturn. Some people say it like bounces off the moon and covers the whole earth, and everybody is covered, so everybody can hear it. And it's always very tailored to you. It's like magic radio. So every time your vibration goes down, it gives you the fears or the things that you fear the most, in like on a silver platter. It presents you, and always in the same kind of way for everybody on earth. So that's an interesting theory. Then another theory is that there may be entities like demons from hell, fallen angels or whatever, floating through the universe, and they see you being all depressed and upset, and they can whisper in your ear because you're susceptible, because you can hear them, because you're on their wavelength. The other theory is that there are egregors. So what are egregors? Egregors are thought forms. When 2 or more people gather together, they may create an egregor. There's a debate whether egregors are inherently evil or inherently good. That's been going on for 150 years. And if any of you are in autonomy, you're going to be joining that debate on February 21st. I believe it's a Saturday during Do It Live. We're going to have a deep discussion and a debate whether egregors are good or evil. I'm personally on the side of an egregor is formed with 3 or more people. So the intentions or the vibrational signature of those 3 or more people, or 2 or more people, is what creates the egregor. Therefore, if the people are good or the intentions are good, like think about the sports teams, right? I mean, some sports teams are very violent, but there is definite egregor in sports teams. Like think about like 1,000 people going, "Hoo, hoo, hoo, go Tigers, go Tigers," you know, that's an egregor. The egregor pulls you in. And that's how those mob fights come for like Liverpool fans and all of that, because Liverpool fans have a very, very strong and very, very old egregor. It's almost, you know, a giant size, I would say. And same, there are some sports teams in America that are really, really strong. And maybe even in Canada, you know, they have some strong egregor sports teams where when you go there, when you go to a live game, you can really feel the power and the energy coming out of that particular event, because the egregor is so powerful. I once belonged to a 50-year-old speakers club in Calgary, and it was very interesting how I was always a half hour early, where I'm not usually early for anything, but I could totally feel the power of the egregor controlling me, essentially. No, because nobody in this club is ever late. And people who are late, they either stop coming or, you know, or they just adjust and be on time. And that was true. For like 6 years, I was in that club, and that was true for everybody. Nobody was late. And if somebody was late more than a couple of times, they ended up not coming back. It's very interesting. Like you could be occasionally late, but you couldn't be habitually late, kind of thing. So an egregor can be evil. Like say you had a huge argument with your family in the living room, and then you all leave the living room, but that sparkly argument, our energy is still in the living room, and then you come back in, you can feel it hitting you, and you're angry again, because it's there in the air, right? That's why a lot of people will burn incense after an argument, or, you know, create some kind of open windows. Opening windows is quite magical. Sweeping can also be a magical activity where you can move energy with sweeping. So what else? Oh, and I got a nice picture of I'm just showing you guys pictures today, but look at this picture of the woo egregor or demon or entity that's feeding you the dark thoughts. Isn't that beautiful? So then there's this bit. Oh yes, now it takes us to it. Remember what I promised you I was going to show you guys today? Huh? Does anybody remember what you're here for? Mm-hmm. Face splits. Okay, are you guys ready to see a photo of me from 2010? All right. So here I am. So this was me, and it's so just to explain, there are 3 photos in each row, and so that's actually one photo, and it's been split in the middle, and the one side is labeled underneath. So the one side is the left side, and the other side is the right side. So on my right is left, and on my left is right, because it's like how she's looking at me, kind of thing. And so this is how you kind of measure or compare the inner masculine with the inner feminine. So when I split my face from 2010 up into 2 halves, the one on the right is the inner feminine, and the right one on the left is the inner masculine. So is it like equal power, or is one of them overpowering her? What do you guys see when you look at these pictures? And then the second picture was like a year later when I first started the masters. Anybody?
Definitely the second set, you see more both of them are in power, the yin and the yang, more in balance. Whereas if you're looking at the original picture, the right side is even like higher up than the left side. It's more open and wide on the eye. or the other
And
side.
there's more flesh showing on the right side. So that means my face is slightly tilted so that to show more of the right than the left in the picture.
Fascinating.
Because I'm more comfortable, like I'm leading with my right side, I'm leading with my intellect. I don't want to show my feeling, my emotional part of it, because there is of it, so I'm hiding it. And even my nose is like crooked towards like the feminine.
Wow.
So, oops, that's somebody else. I have to show you before and after pictures. But like, you've seen me on video now, and I don't look like either one of these ladies. So there is like a further balancing that continues to happen in the body. And let me show you Lisa.
What was the time span between the first picture and the second picture?
About a year, just a little bit less than a year, maybe 8 months.
It blows my mind that you can change your face that much in that.
Just you wait. Hang on a second. Okay, so here's Lisa. And so this was when she came, and then this was after the masters. So this was at the beginning of the masters, and this was after the masters. So here's Lisa when she first came. She actually has a similar thing to me going on here, right? Because her inner feminine her inner feminine seems happier than mine was. And the inner masculine is a bit of a bully, like taking energy from her and like, leading with the intellect as opposed to the feeling, the receiving side. And for a woman, it's really important to develop the receiving part of it, right? Because that's what we're wired for. And then you couldn't even tell that her eyes were such beautiful blue color because there was so much emotional baggage around her eyeballs that, they were like recessed. And so then when she released all that baggage, and remember in the psychosomatic training, you get, massage, and there's all sorts of like release, like face release. You get to talk about your story. You get face reading and body reading. There's all these different things, all of these moments of awareness that happen so that you can release all of that judgy energy. Like once you understand how you're treating yourself, it's hard not to release the energy. You know what I mean? If you have compassion for yourself. So now, Lisa is my age. She's exactly the same age as me, and she looks like this now. So we were together in classes. Hang on, I'm going to show you. So she's continuing to release to continue the awareness and continuing to release all the tension in her face and allowing her inner energy to really show on her face, the inner beauty. And then I also wanted to show you guys Donna. So this is Donna. And this is when she came to psychosomatic therapy. She looked like this. And you might have all sorts of judgmental thoughts about the original woman, how mean and bitchy she looks or whatever, right? But like, is she mean and bitchy, or is she mean and bitchy to herself? You know what I mean? Like how, once she understands, the minute she understands what she's doing, how her inner thoughts patterns are affecting her own self, she released so much of that. Right?
And it's also protection, right? If you scare them away, it keeps you safe, right? Protection.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. For sure. And even being a bigger person is protection because they're going to be scared of you or something, right? But between these two pictures, it's only a month. Right? So just the awareness and understanding. And so Donna did continue to work with herself. And so she didn't go back to her own patterns afterwards. So she released some of the weight that she had on her, right? Because she was understanding that she didn't need the protection anymore. And, she remained happy over the years. I can show you. Those are the only two that I have like after pictures, but these other people I have just the original before and after. So this again, this is October to November, so it's just under a month. And she's taken 6 days of psychosomatic therapy training, so the practitioner certificate, or maybe 10 days is in October and the rest in November. Oh no, is my internet going funny? Hello? Are you guys there?
Yeah, you're there. It was cutting in and out, but I think we caught most of.
Okay.
There was like a month between the first picture and the second picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a little choppy.
I'm gonna try to switch my internet. How about this? Am I back?
Yeah, you're clear.
Yay. Okay. So yes, so this lady, so what I was saying is that I only have the extra after pictures, like after 10 years pictures for the Donna and Lisa, and you can see me on the video. But for these rest of the people, I just have the before and after from the actual class that I took, or the classes that I took. So this is Bev. And here we have Jordan. Oops. How do I zoom in here? So what do you guys notice about Jordan? So the goal of the thing, like, so he ended up going all the way to the masters. So the first picture was when he first came into the classes, the first classes, practitioner classes. And then when he entered the masters, and then when he ended the masters. So those are the before and afters. So after finishing master's training, he was a lot more balanced than he was in the beginning, and a lot more self-assured. About this dude. This dude never had any dates. I don't remember what year he was in, but it's probably like a month or 2 months, something like that, the difference. So the interesting thing about this guy is that he had a very prominent widow's peak before that, even though he's balding. And so what they would have done is they would have waxed his widow's peak, because widow's peak in psychosomatic therapy is self-doubt. So they wanted him to have like the energy flow through his face easily, and any kind of, like, whether it's hair coming down in front or divot in your chin or anything like that. That's a split between the masculine and feminine. So that's talking about, how you're not getting along, or how you're fighting inside, how one side is saying do this and the other side's like, no, we're going to do that. And there is all this kind of power struggle inside. So in both pictures, and if you look into his eyes, you can really see the power struggle in this guy. And then the after picture is same dude without the power struggle. And I mean, do you get rid of the power struggle because you remove the hair? I don't know. I mean, the hair removal comes after all this training and understanding of where the energy is coming from and what you're doing to yourself and how you're speaking to yourself. And there's days and days of instruction. And then they, give you the option to wax your hair. So I think it's a combination of everything. And the waxing is just like a physical psychosomatic mnemonic device to remember that you don't need to do that anymore. And we're back to me. Yay.
These are absolutely fascinating. I'd love to know how to do this split picture.
So the way you can do the split picture, so if you think about how the face works, the only non-movable part of your face is the bit between your eyebrows. It's always close to the bone and it doesn't ever move. So if you find the space right between the eyebrows, and the nose might go on one side or the other, because a lot of people's noses are crooked or off kilter. So don't worry about the nose and don't use the tip of the nose, because like, look, it's so malleable. One thought could move it. But this is a bone. This is how you were born, or you were born here to be. Like the bone system is who you have come here to be. And the muscle system is, the muscle system is actually not. The fascia system is what responds to your emotions. So your fascia holds emotions and moves emotions and makes all of the like chi blockages and stuff that we have in our bodies. That's due to the fascia, tightening up. And then you can feel the effect of it in your muscles and in your tendons, but the actual thing is the fascia, the cause of it, because the fascia is what tightens when you have an emotional reaction to something.
Super fascinating. Thank you.
I have one more thing to share with you guys, but I want to know if anybody has any questions. Anybody?
Oh, okay. I have a question. You said you were probably being tongue in cheek, but you said the nose is so malleable, one thought could move it. I
It
thought
is.
that was hilarious, but also what kind of thinking could move your nose? Like if I wanted to straighten out my nose, because I feel like it leans one way, and I'm wondering,
Well, which way does it lean?
probably to the left, I think. Yeah.
It'd be interesting. Tara, you should do his face split. But so the photo has to be super like fast, super in front, where you can sort of see the equal parts of the whatever. Make him sit super straight. You won't even notice if he's got a tilt probably until after you do the split, because it's usually so subtle. But yeah, I do think you have a tilt in your face. So like your face is pulling to the left.
I have a very uneven face. And if I could change my thinking to like shape it better, then I'm like all in. I'm.
Well, it makes me think you have a very uneven face, because there's little bits that are uneven.
There's no bits that are even.
I think I don't know, overall, it's a pretty symmetrical face where the bone structure is concerned.
Yeah. It depends on the angle of the selfie a lot of times. Like it looks like I have a very narrow, like, where my eyes are. My head's like a snowman.
Well, and so do you have hair coming onto your forehead here in the sides? Not much.
No, I'd like
But sort of a little bit. Yeah, so those would be you have a little bit of tape recorders there, so that would be considered tape recorders in psychosomatic therapy, and that means that when something happened to you when you were a child or many years ago, you still tend to repeat it to yourself, and like it runs on the tape in the background, and like say something bad happens, like you have a bad day or whatever, these tape recorders activate and start telling you all the shit that you heard when you were younger.
Yeah, that's fully accurate, 100%.
So if you can, but don't shave it off, because that doesn't work apparently. What you need to do, you need to take some wax strips and rip it right out. And I'm not sure how much of that is psychosomatic, how much of that is physically actually accurate, because at first I was super skeptical of the hair thing. But I have to say I did it, and the hair, after doing it twice, the hair never grew back where it was used to be. And I also got rid of the critical voice of my dad in my head. And now, 15 years later, I actually have a better relationship with my dad, and he's full of compliments, which is super weird me out every time. But like, I'll take it. So
Yeah. Okay. Tape
I've been telling people my dad turned into chat GPT because he's all like, wow, what a great idea. And he never used to do that.
Thank you.
So notice what Lauren gave you a message in the chat. No, interestingly, my mother also thinks that she has a long, skinny neck, and she really doesn't. So like how we see ourselves, it really isn't necessarily reflected on how people see us. Because I do see Travis as being pretty symmetrical in his face. Like I know that there's some soft tissue asymmetry, but like I see your face as being pretty symmetrical. So, but again, like all the stuff that's asymmetrical in your face is soft tissue. So you should be able to massage it out or think it out or whatever. If you think about it, it's like a closed circle. You know, you can affect the physical, or you can affect the mental, or you can affect the emotional, or you can affect the spiritual, and all of it will move your face. Right? So if you do some mala beads work and then you massage your face with oils, and then you speak to yourself with love and tell yourself how beautiful you are, and and maybe even wax those tape recorders, you could like if that is your goal to make your face more symmetrical, you can absolutely do it. And just like, but like I think the number one thing is to really treat yourself as the 4-year-old that you are, because like you locked him in a cupboard under the stairs and you told him he had an asymmetrical face. Like, poor baby. Who says that to a 4-year-old?
I was just going to say, as by my comment that I typed in there, my whole life, every photo I see of myself, I see my nose. And like, that's the only thing I see on my face. I mean, like now less because I have glasses and, I'm wearing them all the time, but such a standout, for me, always thinking that I have this prominent, big nose. And I have had so many people in the last few years of my life say, what are you even talking about? I've never even noticed your nose. And like, that is the only thing that I would see when I would look at pictures. And I was sure that's what everybody else saw when they looked at me. And yet, no.
I want to see if I can find a photo of my mother to show you her unnatural neck. Because it's totally not. It's like normal. It's just a neck. It's like everybody else's neck. I'm sorry to say. Not, oh, I have a new picture of Lisa. That was cute. That was from this winter. I don't know how she did that, but it's cute. Let's see.
So I feel like it's super interesting, especially with like the nose concept. Thinking about it being crooked is out of alignment. If it's out of alignment with ourself, if we are out of alignment with ourself, viewing ourselves from a viewpoint that needs an adjustment, essentially, what does your nose say? And I still haven't looked back at the chakra mapping, which is just absolutely fascinating to me. But to think about, like, why is your attention, if your body's always communicating with you, look at this part of you, your alignment, your central point, and how you show up in the world, that kind of a thing. Super interesting, because I remember having a thought process like that years ago, and then I shifted out of caring. I was like, I'd rather be in pictures than not exist in experiences. So I was just like giving that up. But I also have, for like the last 3 weeks, every time I look in the mirror, I'm like, there's a whole new face showing up every day with the wintering processing that I've been doing. So I'm like, this is so on point for me right now. I'm like gonna look at, hopefully I've taken a few selfies. I don't know that I have, but I'm super curious to figure out that splitty thingy.
Actually, doing like a video series or whatever can really change the way you feel about yourself. because at the first, when I first started doing podcasting and stuff, I thought I looked really weird and awful and stuff. But just the more I did it, the more videos I did, I just like, I know what I look like. I'm used to the way I look like now. I don't know how. So I found a picture of my mother who's not very flattering, but it shows her neck very clearly. And this is a lady who thinks that her head looks like a pin on top of a skinny, like the neck is skinny and she has a round head, and it's like on, like, it looks like a pin head, and she has to wear a scarf 90% of the time because she feels like it's like she's insecure about her neck. Like, it doesn't even make any sense, but it's probably because someone told her when she was a small child this horrible thing, like, oh, look, your round head and a skinny neck, you look like a pin or something. And she took it so to heart, and like in her 70s, she's still carrying it with her, and there's no need for that. I was going to show you guys a flattering.
I have stopped criticizing myself in front of my daughter. I realized that when she was quite young, because I start noticing, my neck. I'm getting, I'm 56. And so I start noticing the little jowls and the things like that. But I'm not saying anything about that because my mom did with me, and I never would have noticed those things on her. And then I probably wouldn't have noticed them as much on myself if my mom hadn't criticized herself so much. So I was like, okay, I'm absolutely not going to say any of those things, in front of my daughter.
And that thing you said where she changed part of her face because she didn't want to look like you, like the way I know that's like she didn't do that for that reason, but that's how it came out, right? I think that's really powerful. Look, here's my mom with her telltale scarf, but she looks better in this picture.
That's sweet.
But
yeah, I mean, my mom had those, she had her nose and her breasts done when I was very young, so before I looked like her. But then when I look back and I see these pictures of her before her surgeries, and I'm like, she used to look like me, but she didn't like it, and then she changed it. So then that really resonate, well, not resonated, but the opposite of resonated. I mean, it felt bad, made me
resonated. Resonated is right.
Bad about what, I'm like, well, she used to look like me, and then she didn't like it, so she changed it. So yeah, that was tough.
Yeah. I know her neck looked normal. I've always told her neck looked normal, but she does not believe her neck looked normal, and there's nothing you can say. And when she looks at herself, just like your face looks normal, Travis, it's the same thing. She looks at herself in the mirror. She sees something different than what we see when we look at her. She can probably look at these pictures and think her neck looks skinny, even though we don't see it. You know what I mean? So there is like a thing.
Travis, I'm curious what you'd look like with your hair pulled back, because sometimes that changes, like I've had my hair long, I've had my hair short, I've had it dark, I've had it red, and all of those things have changed things about my face. Yeah. And I know that sometimes my long hair will, drag my face down, or if my hair is poofy or, whatever, it changes. It doesn't change your face, but it changes how people see. Yeah.
But like, if you think about it, so like say your face is more square, that means you're more set in your ways and you're more calculating, and like you have to do things the right way. And if your face is more long, it's more idealistic, doing the right thing, reaching for the stars and all of that stuff. So we're told that it pulls down our face, and our face is not as symmetrical top to bottom and side to side. But according to psychosomatic therapy, that's not really the best. I mean, it's probably fine for people who have it, but like if somebody has a long face, they shouldn't be trying to be somebody they're not. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
Yes. Thank you both. Thank you.
Like you're laughing at my mom's neck, but you're not laughing at your asymmetrical face. And it's the same thing.
No, I'm noticing the hypocrisy in it all. I'm
Yeah.
appreciating it.
I just wanted to like shine a big light on that. No, it's all good, but we all do it. Every single one of us does it, you know, like and like body dysmorphia is very, very common with all sorts of people for all sorts of ways. And not just, you know, if somebody is overweight or underweight, but like in every single part of your body, you could have some kind of dysmorphia happening. And it's programming, it's totally programming. Somebody said something, you noticed something, there was some critic voice, you know, the demon network spoke to you, and suddenly you're repeating it after them. That's why I gave you that red demon, so you can visualize him when he speaks to you. with that semaphore. Okay, I wanted to share one more thing with you guys. So I want you guys, the ones that are like on camera, that's cool. Lauren thinks you look cute with your hair pulled back. See? Sorry, that was my interpretation. So I have one thing to share with you. I want you guys to like pick somebody, pin their picture, and like look them straight in the eyes. And while I'm reading this to you, really think about that other human being, whoever is. Normally in the class, what we would do, or in real life, what we would do is we would sit down in front of each other and like look at each other in the eyes while somebody's reading this. But we'll do a facsimile of that right here. So just like me, this person woke up this morning to be here. This person is seeking happiness, wants to be loved, has looked in the mirror and not liked what they see, has laughed so hard they cried, has experienced deep pain. This person has felt trapped in their body, shared of themselves and given love to others, wants to know their purpose, has had unkind thoughts about their body, has experienced feelings of unity with the world, has felt separated and alone, has been angry, has experienced grief, enjoys adventure and excitement, wants to experience peace and bliss, has experienced the wonders of being a child, was a brand new born innocent baby once, still hears the voice of the child within at times, and is lovable. For as long as you look into their eyes, know that in them you see yourself. Thank you for watching the recording.